Disclaimer. To the Pharisees and Karens out there.
How dare you!
All guests on this show do not reflect the opinions of the host. The purpose of this show is to have interesting conversations, stretch our minds, and grow.
Not what we want!
If you are looking for an echo chamber, viewer and listener discretion
is advised.
You talk about extreme.
What is happening and what is up? Hold out your glass, because we're about to fill it up.
Torches high.
You know, look at it from a different perspective.
Hey guys, what is happening and what is up? Hold out your glass, because we are about to fill it up. Welcome to the Prometheus Lens Podcast, the place where the conversations are always enlightening. I'm your host, Doc Brown, and here we like to use the allegory of the Prometheus Lens to take a second look at everything. Hey guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the hero's journey. Be sure to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Down below, we'll have our social media banner out on our various platforms. Be sure to check us out. That would be much, much appreciated. And don't forget to flick that bell so you don't miss out on a single solitary journey. Hey, if you listen on Apple or Spotify, straight up, guys, I know the ads suck, but hey, for $4 a month, okay? Homeless people come up $4 a day, $4 a month. You could have an ad-free listening experience. But hey guys, with all that junk out of the way, man, let's dive into the fun stuff and the meat of the matter. I have a great conversation for you lined up today. We're going to take a hero's journey through the abyss, y'all. Okay? Now, this is a man that had me on his show a couple times. We've had some really great conversations, and he's been in the deep end of the pool, of a certain pool that I've not really had much time in. So I got my life jacket. I'm suited up, son. I'm ready to go, and I'm excited to talk to this guy. But I'd like to welcome to the show for the first time, hopefully the first of many times, Nick from the Occult Rejects. So this sounds like it's not like Freemasonry, like how they say it's closed off, and to be one, you have to ask one. Like if somebody was just walking down the street and just happened to be having a service, somebody could just walk right in and be welcomed in.
With the OTO,
or no?
The OTO actually, more of their things are probably open to the public than closed. They do actually. The lodge that I went to was also a little bit more active than probably the average, but they did probably 2 or 3 things a week, and for the most part, they were always open to the public. Every once in a while, if they had a closed thing, that still meant that, like, if you were a Minerval, again, you still had to do an initiation. And that means like you're half in and half out. You really didn't take your first degree yet, but you're allowed to come to the closed meetings. You can still go to those, but every once in a while they would. If they did certain sometimes, and I think it was silly because like there's even people in the order saying like, should this really be a closed meeting? But sometimes like stuff on certain rituals, which really aren't like, again, if you were to like listen to me even read it, you'd be like, really? Like you can't, I don't know. Sometimes certain things on planetary magic, but a lot of it, believe it or not, is open to the public. Especially if you got the $5, that they're asking for a donation. I'm sure they'll let you. There's a little box in there. Put your little $5 or $10 in there if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, like, how long did you go like to these like meetings before you finally like pulled the trigger, and you was like, okay, I want to be a member, and what did that look like? So now you said a Minerval. Now is that the one you said that you're kind of skipping the first step, and that just gets you into the closed meetings? Was that right?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not making you an actual sibling, brother or sister. It doesn't make you an actual member. It just like kind of like that's how they word it. You're half in, half out, and you're welcome to closed meetings at that point. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now with that, you said there was degrees and stuff. You said that once they adopted Crowley's teachings, it knocked it down to like 16?
13, and that's 12
13
degrees counting Minerval. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because it doesn't have a number, but there's Minerval and then 12 of the degrees, so technically 13. And if it's like any of the other, I mean, who knows? I'm sure you've probably heard 32 degrees, 33 degrees. Now there's actually 100 degrees. I don't know how many degrees there are, but there's obviously less. Definitely knocked it down.
And like you said, you was in it for about 6 years. Did you
7
make
years.
it all the way to the end?
No. Unfortunately, even with degrees, I guess it's probably fortunately because I might have kept going until like it got really nuts. You have to actually even wait in between degrees too. Like I was saying, like you had to wait at least, I think, 6 months for them to even entertain you for Minerval. I think after you took Minerval, you had to wait another year to do the first degree. And then I think between the first and second, it might have been a year or a year and a half. And then the same thing, it's like a year and a half after that. And then something important to add, once you get to the fourth degree, you're considered a perfected magician. After that, you have to be like shoulder tapped, as they would call it, or they have to ask you if you'd like to go any higher. After that, you can't ask anymore.
Okay.
So I even do.
So it's invite only.
Yeah,
after
and
that.
I think at that point, there's going to be reasons why they pick you. I think. I do think that there is certain beliefs. I don't want to say agenda because it gets a little, it sounds crazy, but I do think they have a mission. Put it that way. They have something that they're trying to accomplish. Even if it's just like weird science, I think it's a little worse, but I do think that they have an underlying mission that they're trying to accomplish. Especially when you start looking at the higher up degrees. It sounds like a lot of, like, in my opinion, like Moonchild type stuff, or like homunculus, playing with people's, the homunculus.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not to interrupt you, like real quick, but again, if you're the perfected magician at 4, I mean, you're a magician already. Like, what's after that? This is all add-ons and what you're into and where you're going, what you're probably working with.
Yeah, and that was something I recently, I think it was at the time of this recording, about 2 weeks ago, I had spoke with Juan from the One-on-One podcast, and he's Mr. Homunculus.
So I love him for that.
So I got a crash course on the homunculus from him, and we
that's really
talked
good.
to alchemy.
That's really good because I had him on a minute ago for the homunculus, and I appreciate Juan because he does look at it in multiple different ways.
With the price of eggs and bread slowly approaching a day's wages, it's more important than ever than to secure the value of your dollar. One thing that has remained steady is gold and silver throughout the ages. Back in Roman times, a piece of gold would get you a toga. That's the equivalent of $3,000 today. That still remains true to this day. For a full suit, shoes, tie, you're looking at about $3,000. Because gold and silver holds its value. So if you're tired of watching the value of your dollar go down every single day, it's time to get off your hands and make a move. I've recently teamed with Cornerstone Asset and Metals. Reach out to those guys for all of your financial needs. It's time to trade in that forever devaluing dollar into hard assets that you can hold, like gold and silver. Be sure and check the link down in the description or the number on the screen. And hey, tell them Doc Brown sent you. Are you a hunter, a hiker, or just an outdoor enthusiast? Well, if you are, you know that good quality gear is hard to come by. And finding all-American made is like finding Bigfoot in the woods. Hence the name of Squatch Survival Gear. Head on over to squatchsurvivalgear.com. Use the code PLP10 for 10% off store-wide. Well, what got you out, Nick? You said that you end up leaving. So what got you out of the OTO?
This will get interesting. If the first degree, me getting naked, didn't knock me out, I'll throw that out there. In the first degree, you will have to actually take off your clothes and get naked in a blacked out room with like a candle. So that makes it a little bit more comfortable. But no, I went went a little bit more higher than that. But eventually, after the second degree, I don't think it was right. I think it was right after actually. And I did it with 2 other people. They let you know going forward other degrees and maybe certain things that you can either do as a what's that word, like volunteer, and things that would be maybe needed for you to move on and take that degree. And I don't remember if it was the 7th or 8th one, but at one point, and I heard it for sure, and I was like, what? You're going to sign over everything to the OTO. Oh. What? I'm like looking at my boy, Jordan, who just took this with me. I'm like, yo, this is a cult now. Like, they just told us this is a cult. Great, dude. 10 years, they just told me now this is a cult if I stay that long. I mean, I did stay a little bit longer, knowing that this, even at that point, I'll be totally honest with you, I really knew it wasn't a place for me to stay, because I'll get into this part too now, is extremely left, far left. And at the time, it was right around all that was popping with, let's burn everything down, BLM, George Floyd, COVID, all that craziness. They started, well, first off, when COVID came, they settled with the CDC. They knelt to the CDC. Okay, we'll close. Well, Jesus has got his doors open, but Morris is too scared. What the going on here? Whatever. Then they started doing Zoom meetings. I'm like, you know what? I haven't even been there in about 6 months anyway. I was like, I'll go to a few Zoom meetings because I don't have to technically say anything. And, again, COVID, nothing was going on anyway. So I was like, I'll just jump in on a Zoom meeting and listen to them read a book or do this or do that. And like one day we got an email saying if we wanted to talk about the whole George Floyd situation. And I'm like, well, first off, this has nothing to do with magic. This isn't an OTO thing. Like, the OTO literally is just like the AA. We have nothing to say about anything except for the OTO. George Floyd has nothing to do with the OTO unless he was in it. I'm not claiming he was, but you know what I'm getting at? Like, why are we talking about this? So I was like, I got to jump in on this thing just for shit and giggles.
Just to see what they got to say.
Yeah. Yo, it turned into like some like group therapy type thing where it's like, talking about like how it's horrible and everybody got to take their turn if they wanted and go around the room, whatever, the Zoom, and tell your story about like your racism, dealing with racism. I was like, oh my God. And then at the end, they're starting to ask if people want to like get together for like protests. Well, yeah, protests. And I was like, yo, this is, they're promoting the left. I was like, this is.
Now, was this a mixed group? Was it a lot of nationalities, or was it predominantly white? Well, I guess what I'm getting at was there a lot of.
I'll be totally honest with you. There was 2 black out of that whole lodge, and like one of them showed up orphanly. The other one was like nuts, and they honestly didn't even like him too much either. Well, I was just like, so first off, like, where the fuck are we coming from with this? I'm just keeping it real. I'm literally just keeping it real. You got one black dude in the whole group, and we got to talk about George Floyd's racism incident for an hour. And the crazy thing is, so what I'm saying now is that now the rest of this whole group is all white going on about what? This was silly. There was something weird there. And then even another thing I had found out this was another thing I found out when they were talking about for the degrees. For the second degree, you could sign up for some sort of like volunteer thing where you talk to like I think it was a Beta. I already forgot the guy's name. Hymus, whatever. The head guy, the head of the OHO, the outer head. You talk to him. I thought it was going to be once a month and just give him updates. You go on Skype and give him updates about how the lodge is doing. I'm like, all right, this is easy. I do something 12 times a year. And I did it for a year. That's my service, and you'll leave me alone. Plain and simple. That's exactly what I was planning on doing. So I went to go speak to the other person that's there who was doing it, that their time was ending. And they're like, oh, no, that's every week. I'm like, yo, what the hell does this dude need to know what's going on in this place every week? I'm like, this looking for something. Or you want, like, am I giving you, like, you're basically reading the lodge for you and letting you, like, I just was just like, this is.
Yeah, like you're the 4-H reporter.
Yeah, it was just like, like dynamite. Like, I'm just like, no, like, I'm not doing it. So I like even started looking at that. And I was just like, between that and then what was going on there and them pushing all this stuff with the protests and the stuff with George Floyd and them crumbling to the CDC. And then eventually this is crazy thing too. It's like, I don't know if you've ever heard them like use like, 93 or 93 is always associated with the Lima and Alistair Crowley. It breaks down to agape, stuff like that. It's numerical value stuff. They say
agape, like the Greek word for love.
Yeah.
Okay.
They say in an email, 93% of the lodge isn't comfortable with people being unvaccinated. So due to that, you're gonna have to be vaccinated to come in. I'm like, yo, you're really using that number too to play some games with us. Because the thing is, I hadn't left yet, and I didn't get an email to ask my opinion on this. So where was this vote?
Right.
Where's this 93% coming from? Because you didn't get my answer. And I guarantee you didn't get Jordan's and you didn't get Jason's. Because we all would have said you. And it wouldn't have been at 93%. It would have been higher already because there wasn't that many actual members who had a say. That would have at least been 10% right there. So I know you're fine.
And you said this was in New York, right?
Yeah, Queens. Yeah, and he's another dude. There's plenty of dudes there that would have been like, no, that's crazy. To where that would have not have been 93% if we all got asked. So you
right. Yep, and using the programming of that number.
Yeah,
that
sounds so
meaning.
Cool. 93. I guess it was meant to be some funny game like that because they're all easily manipulated libtards. I hate to say it, most of them were. Once I realized,
is that what you were getting at? The agenda?
I do think that's part of it, and I think part of their agenda, like I did say, people can look for it. I will tell you. From the rituals that I did, from the most part, a lot of this book is on point. Secret Rituals of the OTO. You can look up the PDF for it. In one of the last rituals, it does talk about around with the homunculus and trying to put a demon back in there before the ego, putting a demon in there before the ego comes back. So I do think you're actually around with like putting things into people's heads or their brains, like pulling out. Maybe if somebody had a magical experience, let me shove something else in there before they come back. I don't trust that. Sounds like MK Ultra or something weird. Or people are having magical. I'll have my magical experience at home. I don't need you around me. I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't trust that.
Wow.
No, I'm not doing that.
So they're talking about injecting the demon into you while you're having this experience?
It says, yeah.
While you're having this out-of-body experience?
I'm assuming that's what's going on in order to even do that. But it is talking about putting putting the demon into the homunculus before the ego takes form again or comes back.
Man,
I saw that too, and I was like, I think I'm done with this place. I was like, I already wrote off like enough like bad rumors and stories of like Alistair Crowley himself. To stay here, I was like, I think this is like enough now. I think I can leave. I was like, it's now even shit that like, again, I could be wrong, but for what I can say from my experience, that the degrees that I took, about 90% of those things were probably on point. And like, so there's some of the reasons.
You sure it wasn't 93? I had to. You teed it up. You teed it up, man.
Said it, man. Like, sometimes I do that too. If I ever use like a percentage, I will, say 93 to see if anybody's, listening, catches me.
Well, now I'm in the club, so I know I'll be looking for it now. Yeah. If you mention 93 on the show, I'll be in the chat.
Yeah, 93, 90. Yeah. I want to see that now.
Like far as like your the initiations and stuff, which I don't know if you are comfortable talking about it or if you're allowed to. Well, what does one of those look like? Because I know, like, I've read a lot of books, on Freemasonry, how they come out, with one arm rolled up, one pant leg exposed, breast with the knife, and all their different rituals that they do. What's one look like in the OTO? Do you think maybe? Because you kind of hinted at it, but I'm a dummy. You're gonna have to spell it out for me.
I was too.
So, is this like you think possibly like a controlled opposition, CIA, kind of like Mockingbird? They're creating this, opposed opposition and getting their feelers out for this far left movement, and kind of using this organization to some ends?
Yeah, I think now at this point, my opinion, I can even say I know for a fact that at one point the FBI was inside the Tahuti Lodge. They even know that.
Hmm.
And if they did their job right, you think they left and they didn't.
Now, when you say in the lodge, do you mean like members?
I don't know if exactly a member, but I was told by people that like actual people who have like positions in there, they were talking that like it was after the thing and there was just some of us left over. And I think we're actually about conspiracy stuff, and like they were playing it off like this is how it came out. Yeah, the FBI even had somebody here for a while coming and watching, and they realized there was nothing. They're like, I don't know why. Believe it or not, a lot of them they thought that wasn't really entertained. Like as we look at it, as like the people running the world are into this shit. They actually, believe it or not, a lot of them didn't think that. So they're actually saying how like silly that they actually. It was more of like playing around, like, oh yeah, the FBI even came here and realized like there's nothing much here. Like there's nothing with this stuff. And I'm like, yo, you think they left? They may still be here. Well, you know,
right.
Kevin is.
You're right. And honestly, even if it's not to manipulate, it's to infiltrate, because that's what they do. They infiltrate these biker gangs, all these different, organizations, because it's what's the word I'm looking for? A mole, it's an access line to these organizations, in the very least, just to monitor and observe and know what they're up to in the very least,
I even question those sometimes, even from Inception, as soon as Crowley took it over, because like, I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, he had a huge hand in giving us Scientology as well. So you have to really start to wonder like what he was. I do wonder if he was just into handing people psyops in a sense. I kind of think of something else that he was involved in too that was actually really shady. But I mean, him and Jack Parsons were hugely influential with L. Ron Hubbard with Scientology.
Right.
So, I mean, you have to even look at that. It's just like, I don't know. It's just my opinion. It may have been something at one point, but I do think, unfortunately, just my opinion, I do think it might be ran by, the 3-letter agency now at this point. I think it might be very MK Ultra-ish, or kind of like at least data mining, like just looking at people's behaviors and what they believe, how they act. It's very. I don't trust it, because the thing is, after I had a magical experience, I don't feel like the vision that place emulates matches a magical experience. If anything, I feel like, and again, this could even be the people in the order itself. They highlight the handcuffs, so this makes no sense to me. People like, instead of like battling their demons, they look for reasons to like feed them in the OTO. Oh, I'm working with my dark self. No, you're feeding into it. You're enjoying this. It's just a very opposite direction of where I was going. And it's just like, is that all really natural, or is this by design? And then like, again, when you hear you got to start signing. This is another weird thing. I had a guy that was on my show that was like pretty much around Tahuti Lodge from inception, which I think was like in the 70s. He knew James Wasserman, who was the guy who started it. I had him on my show, and he had even said, I don't know how high up he got, and maybe for all I know he's freestyling. He said, I told him that I had somebody that was on my show that was like an ex-10th degree member from the OTO. I got to mention that. Carl Abrahamson, whatever. Doesn't matter. He was on my show twice. I actually suggest people to listen to this show, because I really wasn't badgering him when he came on to talk about a book, but he actually admits some really weird. So go listen to this guy's show.
Hey guys, what's happening? Hope you enjoyed that highlight reel. Hey, if you want the full conversation, be sure to go down to the description. I have links to the Spotify and Apple RSS feed. Go there, click the link. It'll take you to my RSS feed, and there you can enjoy the full conversation.